everybody, welcome to our first online video for the Northwest Art Center's pottery class. So I'm going to show you today how to make a box. I sent you a still photo of all the items you need, and they're still all here. You'll need this strip that's called Pattern for Box. You'll need this long strip of clay that was in your Ziploc bag. Actually, no, this one was in the saran wrap, sorry. These other two, rectangular shaped, they'll all be kind of irregular shapes and we're going to cut them. And they were in the Ziploc bag. You will need your fork, you'll need your paintbrush, some water, a cutting tool, and then this sharp tool we'll use later on to cut the boxes open. This is going to be our form. It's a cocoa tub wrapped in a newspaper sleeve. Make sure the sleeve stays on there. It's very important to the project. And this plastic bag that was around some of your clay, or you can use your own, we'll need this as well. So make a little bit of space here to work. So I have my long strip of clay and my pattern. I'm going to lay that on top of there so that I can see clay all the way around the outside. So when I cut it, I won't have any missing pieces. And I'm going to hold it with one hand and just use the sharp end of my stick and cut through the clay all the way down to the paper. Peel my scraps off and put them off to the side. I'll use those later. And again, holding it and just carefully cutting along the length of that pattern. So there I have my strip cut. This is my cocoa tub. I'm going to take that and wrap my clay around it. There will be a little bit of an overlap, and I'm going to make that part of the decoration later. So I want it to be all the way down at the bottom. So you don't want to wrap it around the middle here or anything, because we need to put the base on. So we're going to wrap it around the bottom this way. And I want this overlap right at the front in the center because I'm going to decorate this. You can leave it as a straight edge like that if you want, or you could take and you could trim this into a bit more of a curvy edge. You don't want to take too much off there though, just a little bit. And any place where the clay is going to touch and overlap, we're going to need to score it. So right in here and here. So on top here, I'm going to use my fork and just rough up the surface there. And then over here, rough up that surface. Take a little bit of water. And then bring it around, make sure it's right down flat, and then press that on there. If you want to totally smooth this out and make the seam disappear, that's another option, but I'm going to leave it as a decorative feature. Okay, so those are my walls. Next I need one of these rectangular pieces, and I'm going to place my clay on there, again making sure that I have clay all the way around. And then I'm going to cut around the outside, and I'm leaving just a little bit of extra clay along the base. I'll hold that up when I'm done so you can see it. Pull off the extra stuff. What I want to be careful not to do is cut under my wall, or else there'll be nothing for the clay to hold on to. So I don't know if you can see that looking straight down. There's just a touch of extra clay along the edge here, and that might be a little too much on that side. Maybe I'll trim it again. There we go. And then I'm going to take that off, and then on the bottom here, again, I'm going to rough up my edges here. And this piece, the edges just need roughed up around the edge where it will touch the clay. And if you find the fork is too difficult, you can just use the little wooden stick. Just where the clay is going to touch the base. Now I've got this little extra shape here, so I want to make sure that I line that up with the overlapped piece when I put this back on. And then a bit of water, and a bit of water here, and back on it goes. Line it up a little bit, and then gently press it down. Now that extra little bit of clay that I left, it's looking pretty messy right now. I want to take that and smooth it up into the wall. I'll do it kind of rough at first just to make sure it's attached. And then I'm going to take some time and really smooth this out. Notice I'm moving the clay up the wall across the seam, not just this way. It's okay to do a little bit that way to take off some extra bits. And smooth that out. That's good for now. I can always do a little bit more later if I need to. Now at this point, you could leave it for a while and come back later and do the next step. But see how stiff or soft your clay is, and you may be able to finish it from this point. Or you could work on some other features. All right, at this point, I'm going to take out my my cocoa tub. Some of them, I think I may have put a little piece of tape on here to hold it in place. So if there's a little tape on there, peel that off, and then you can pull that out, and then pull out your newspaper, and you have a nice shapely box there. Now the next step is to put the top on. Now this is pretty soft. Yours might be a little stiffer because it was rolled a few days ago. But if you find your clay is too soft, let it stiffen for a little while and come back and finish it later. So right now I'm going to take this plastic bag and stick it inside. That's just going to give me a little support to help hold its shape. And then we're going to do the exact same thing that we did before. We're going to flip this over, cut out the top piece, and smooth it out. This would actually be a little easier if I was working on a paper towel and I could spin it around to make it easier to reach each side. There we go. And then just like before, we're going to rough up the surface. So I couldn't give you a pattern for this because everybody's will be a little different. And again, I want to make sure I line up that thicker spot with the part where my clay overlaps. A little bit of water. A little bit of pressure. You can even use your stick if you want a little bit. Once you get it sealed, it's a little easier to work with. Of course, the tricky part here is not squishing it. So if you need to let that clay stiffen up a little bit, it's not a bad idea. And then you can come back and do a little more smoothing and work on it later on. So mine is quite soft. I'm going to let it sit up for a little bit. And while it's doing that, I think I'll take some time. I'm going to add a handle on the top. You can sculpt a little something, whatever you like. And if you would like, you can put some feet on the bottom. So you can set that off to the side to stiffen up. And with your clay scraps, you can go ahead and make some feet. And a handle. The way to make 4 feet the same is to start with a chunk of clay, roll it into a ball, kind of fairly even, and then if you cut it, into 4, there's 2, it's much easier to get 4 pieces of clay that are similar in size than if you just try to make them independently. And then I can roll them into nice balls. And if they're a little off in shape, I can trim them a little bit as needed. So line them up. This one looks a touch big. I'll just take a little bit of clay off it. And then I can do feet. You can make them circles like that. You could make them cubes. Start out the same with a ball and then flatten it into cube shape. And once you get it close, if you just tap each side on the table, makes them nice and flat. So that would be another option for your feet. You could also, again, start with the ball and you could make them a little bit more like a Hershey's Kiss. And they would go on like that. So there's 4 options. The upside down Hershey's Kiss, the round ball, the cube, and you could use something like that as well for the handle, or if you'd like to sculpt a little animal or a flower or a leaf or some other favorite character, whatever you want to personalize it, you can make a unique handle. The fewer pieces that you try to join together, the better. So I'm going to make a little animal with one piece of clay for my handle. So instead of trying to join a whole bunch of pieces of clay together, let's see, I could make it into a kind of a bird shape. There's his beak. There's his tail. So that could be a bird. Make it back into a ball. If I want to make a different animal, let's see, I can kind of press the clay in here and here, and then use those 4 sections to pinch 4 legs. And that could be just about any animal. See if you can guess what it's going to be. Smooth it out. And then I will add a head. Size it up before I actually attach it. That's probably good. Score it. Score here. And then before I attach it, I'm going to draw on his tail. And add a little bit of water. Give him a snout. Might need to add that on. Gonna give him some ears, pinching those up. It's a little tough. There's not a whole lot of clay. I'll have to redo his snout. What I'm trying to make is a little pig. So here's his ears. Get that clay up there. Looks more like a cat. Maybe I'll make a cat. All right. Give him his little triangle nose. And mouth. And there's my little cat that will be the handle. If you'd like to go back and further decorate down here, I'm going to use, let's see, the wrong end of my stick, make some dots. You can use the pointy end of your stick if you want to do some other carving or drawing. Make some swirlies, or you can decorate it however you'd like. Those little crummy bits we'll knock off later. Already feels like it's stiffened up a fair amount, that I can smooth out this top edge. But I'm not going to cut it open yet. I do want it to stiffen up for a while. And I will come back. Later we will come back and cut open the top to make it like a puzzle top. But it's got to sit for a little while, so don't try to do it yet. It's too wet. All right, I will pause now and we'll tune in later for some finishing touches.